question is for uh, both Mr. Youssef and maybe Mr. Hines. Touched on the need for more education. We talked about privacy rights. We talked about the lack of science. We talked about the rights of employers to have safe working places. We talked about the 2013 decision by the Supreme Court, where Mr. Hines took part of that decision and worked it into his statement. You took part of that decision and worked it into your statement. And so I'm just trying to find a balance, and I'm sure we all are, to make sure we have. If I'm on an airplane tonight, I want to make sure that the pilot is drug-free and alcohol-free. I'm sure we're all in that same situation. Are we, are the employers and are the employees ready for this piece of legislation, or is there a need to step back to make sure that we have the signs in place, to ensure that people are educated properly on the use or the misuse of drugs, and alcohol, drugs in this case, and I'm just concerned that we may not be where we should be, and I'd just like to know from both ends of the spectrum what you guys think.
Well, let me start in the context of our relationship. We have a very a collaborative relationship with FEDCO. We work at the federal level, both CLC and FEDCO, in a collaborative way to ensure when federal legislation is brought in the federal jurisdiction that affect both of us, we try to collaborate as best we can with the government of Canada to ensure whatever the government is drafting, of course, is inclusive of our views and opinions. And for the most part, I think the government get it right. Every so often, of course, there's something that goes awry. But, Mr. Manning, I just want to correct for the record. I didn't take parts of the Supreme Court. I took the majority decision of the Supreme Court that I cited. I didn't take part of it. My friend, of course, stated with the minority position of the Supreme Court. It was a majority position that I gave you, which is the rule of the Supreme Court. But in regard to this, the legalization, of course, of recreational cannabis, and I've said this to my friend, and I've said it to the government directly, I don't believe we have done enough in regard to the public education that's required. I think because there's a sense that this is going to change, you can do whatever you want. The rules as they are currently prevent many things in regards to employee using this, an individual operating a vehicle or whatever. And those rules have not changed. I think we need to make that abundantly clear. While this will be legal to ensure people don't have criminal records, the reality is you're not supposed to using cannabis and driving a vehicle. You should not be using cannabis and operating an airplane, and you should not be using cannabis and going to work where you could endanger the lives and health and safety of some others that you're working with. We are consistent on that position. In reality, we do not support random drug testing. We don't believe it's necessary because employers know there's a new rule coming in. They could post whatever they want on their bulletin board. They can do all kinds of education with their workers to ensure they're fully aware that it will not be tolerated, and we'll be there to support employers doing that because we fundamentally believe the workplace should be a place of safety in regards to how we treat each other, but also how we take responsibility to ensure we're not endangering the lives of a worker because we're coming to work in an impaired fashion.
I have to start by agreeing with at least the first one half of everything my friend said, which is that we do have a very collaborative relationship, and it's a mature one. And we generally do collaborate in a tripartite way with government when legislative change is introduced. And I have to be honest, 90% of the time we end up with a solution that generally is satisfactory to all the parties. There are areas on which we disagree, and what should be obvious to you by now today is this is one of them. We have some areas of commonality. Obviously, we are all committed to safety, no doubt. We are all committed to education being an important piece of this. The government has committed resources to that, and we fully support it. We do believe where we diverge is around the issue of testing. Our position is that we have to find some reasonable solution here that draws a line between the privacy rights that we acknowledge do exist with workplace and public safety on the other side. And what we've always contended in the 2 years we've been on this file is that there has to be a way where we can find a solution that meets that test. The Supreme Court of Canada decision is one case in one particular organization, in one particular example. There are dozens of others of arbitrations and court cases that have ruled on this issue, and each time they rule on the specific circumstances of that individual case. What we are asking for is a comprehensive way of approaching this through the front door, where we develop a set of rules We all know what they are. We all have to follow them. My friend likes to point out that employers don't have to come to the government and ask for regulations. Here's one where we think we need some. Are we ready? We think this bill exposes a gap that already exists and is going to make it worse. When the consumption of cannabis becomes more normalized, the statistics out of the U.S. in terms of usage are compelling. Usage will go up. We believe that convincingly. And we believe the risk is that that usage is going to find its way into workplaces. We're now looking for a solution that creates a blanket set of rules for every employee. We're looking to pull out those important safety-sensitive roles where we believe the safety risk trumps the individual privacy rights when it comes to the testing.
Okay, sorry, we've run out of time on that one. You might be able to get something in next time around. There's always ways of doing it.